All oppression will be done, and the people will rise up and say, freedom at last, freedom at last, freedom at last.
Dominica! Dominica! You look lovely tonight, people. You look lovely, and I love to see those lighted candles by your Wabalan. I love that. Good night to you. What a pleasure it is to stand here tonight and to see you, all of you, from all across Dominica, sending a powerful message that change has to come to this country. Dominica, we shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. Absolutely. You know, I don't want us, Dominica, to fear. I don't want us to lose hope. It looks sometimes like it is difficult and impossible, the journey that we are upon. But our cause is just. And as Martin Luther King said, the arc of justice is long, but it bends, or the freedom is long, but it bends towards justice. And justice will come to Dominica. There is no doubt in my mind justice will come to Dominica. You know, I cannot tell you how much pressure this current government is under by a simple act of not taking part in the election. Now I know there are different views on this, different ideas, but I believe that the best thing that we could have done is not to participate in this election. And I will tell you why. And I told the same thing to the Commonwealth observers and to the OAS observers here in Dominica. I told them that we've been trying for many, many years to assume the leadership of this country. And every time this Prime Minister, he uses a certain formula. And the formula is simple. He keeps the list bloated. He looks at each of the constituencies that are close. He brings people into those constituencies and he wins over and over and over again. And we had to say enough is enough. And that's what we did. And you will not believe that a man who says he's going to win 21 seats, Ifashe, every night I see him on television, he's quarreling with somebody. Well, just take your win now. Just take your win. What are you concerned about? But I'll tell you what, the world is watching. The world is watching. Less than an hour ago, I was being interviewed on live television in Jamaica. They were focusing on the elections in Dominica. And the interviewer asked me one question. She says, why is it that the Prime Minister is attacking you personally? So they know that in Jamaica. I told her, well, let me tell you something. I simply announced that I was coming to Dominica and the Prime Minister called an election. So, that should tell you the fear that he has. But beyond that, the Prime Minister understands more than anybody else that what we are standing for is the call that is heard across Dominica and across the world. It's the call for electoral reform. It's a good call, it's a just call, and it's the right call. And why electoral reform? Electoral reform means that we are on a level playing field. That no more can this Prime Minister use the resources of the state to import voters in to keep us in the state that we are in Dominica. Electoral reform means that new parties can emerge and take over the reign of governance in this country. And that's what we are fighting for. So I do not want you to lose hope tonight. I do not want you to believe for one moment that the fact that you stood up is going to be in vain. Our fight is just, and we will win. Indeed, Dominica, we shall overcome. Let's not fool ourselves. We shall overcome. You know, this past week has been a very busy one. We've engaged the President of Dominica. We first tried to get him to use his executive power under Article 58 of the Constitution as the executive authority in Dominica to take over the running of the state and ensure that there's electoral reform. He refused. This past week, we have met with the election observers. We met with the Commonwealth observers headed by the former Foreign Minister of Tanzania. We met yesterday with the OAS observers headed by Prime Minister Perry Christie, the former Prime Minister of the Bahamas. And I told them in those meetings that the people of Dominica are not happy with the election observers. They are not happy because you come to Dominica time and time and time again. You write up the reports, you talk about the bloated list, you talk about the unfair elections, and yet every year we get the unfair elections. So I made a suggestion. I said, in addition to your recommendations to the government of Dominica, I would like you to put recommendations forward to your governments, to the governments in the Commonwealth and to the governments of the OAS. And the recommendations that I would like you to put forward is that you do not recognize this sham election. Let the communities and the countries across the globe not recognize whatever government emerges from that. That's recommendation number one. The second recommendation that I ask is that you declare Dominica a pariah state. And I remember the minister looking like, I said yes, and I'll tell you why. This country, it is supposed to be part of the Commonwealth, but it is not free. No less than 8 members of the United Workers' Party, which I lead, no less than 8 of us are before the courts on charges of treason and incitement. The government's only interest is to jail the opposition. I reminded the Commonwealth observers that the same thing happened in Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe was kicked out of the Commonwealth. I said the exact same thing is happening here in Dominica. I spoke to the fear that the Dominican people are under. Fear of losing their jobs. Fear of not getting a scholarship for their children. The fear that is now written across the t-shirts of this Labour Party, that if Labour is dead, Dominicans are dead. But not so. Not so. I spoke to the fears of the people of Dominica, and I told the observers that this country is acting very much like how Zimbabwe is acting, because they are planning to jail the opposition. That is not a democracy, and the Commonwealth should be encouraging a democracy. And that is why my request to you is to recommend the expulsion of Dominica from the OAS, from CARICOM, from the Commonwealth, until this Prime Minister allows us electoral reform. And that is the call that is going for. It's the call I echoed again tonight to the Jamaican audience. I told them what is going on in Dominica. I explained to them the problems that we're having in this country of ours. In a country where a DLP operative can stand up and tell the people in the Kalinago territory that we have our spies, that we know whom you are voting, And these are not idle threats. Our people are simple people. They believe when your leaders talk to them. They believe him. And so, the story that we have, or the word that we have for the people of Dominica is to stand strong. This fight will not end tomorrow. The fight for electoral reform will not end tomorrow. The fight for democracy in Dominica will not end tomorrow. The fight to free the Dominicans from fear will not end tomorrow. The fight to ensure that this country is restored to its former glory will not end tomorrow. The fight to ensure that Dominica takes its rightful place among the leading Caribbean countries will not end tomorrow. This is just the beginning. I hope Dominicans, you have lalin. You all know what lalin is, right? I hope you have lalin. Nous pas qu'à lutter, nous pas qu'à gommer. Gommer nous qu'à faire. C'est pas seulement pour demain. Nous qu'à gommer et pas pour nous-mêmes. Nous qu'à gommer pour tout le monde qui va venir après nous. Nous qu'à gommer pour jeunes gens Dominique. Nous qu'à gommer pour tout jeunes gens Dominique qui travaillent actuellement à NEP. You got to pay $600. $600. $600 good. C'est ça you got to pay. You know, the Prime Minister told the people of Dominica some time ago that if they allow me to ever become Prime Minister, I would fire the NEP workers. Mine is to make the lives of the NEP workers better. I suggested to the Prime Minister, instead of having the young people simply work on the roadside, why not use those resources, give them a stipend, but allow them to learn a skill. Allow them to further their education. Let them become carpenters and masons and joiners and plumbers and electricians, so that they can offer something to society. And long after the NEP program is finished, they can be working. They can sustain themselves. Use those resources wisely. $500. So, ladies and gentlemen, people of Dominica, the fight that we are in is a serious one. It is about the lives and the livelihoods of thousands and thousands of Dominicans. It's about offering a better day for the people of Dominica. It is about using our resources, using our time to work together. You know, tonight, as I came here, I met a young man, a young labor operative by the name of Kokong. Now, for those of you who maybe have been listening to the radio sometime, he called to engage me. He called to say that he has nothing against me, that he believes I would be a good leader for this country. And he tells me tonight that the Prime Minister calls him and says he heard that he is talking to Thompson on the radio. Now, is that the kind of country that you want, Dominica? Is that the kind of country where neighbor is set up against neighbor? Is that the kind of country that you want, where we are so divisive, where we are divided? I have said it before, and I will say it again tonight before you, that when I look at you, I do not see a blue Dominica. I do not see green. I do not see red or yellow, but I see Dominicans. I see Dominicans. I see a people who work hard. You know, yesterday, the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, he told me about the great Dominicans that he has in the Bahamas. And he says Dominicans are known for that. Dominicans are known for that. And yet we have a prime minister that would try to divide the people of Dominica, that would try to set up neighbor against neighbor, mother against son, brother against sister. We need to stand against this. We need to say that Dominica is too small, that we need every hand on deck. The work of rebuilding Dominica is upon all of us, not one set. It is not for those who dress in red, it's for all of Dominica. The resources of Dominica belongs to all of Dominica. The passport sales belongs to all of Dominica. Every single cent raised on behalf of this country belongs to all of us. And so, Dominica, I want us to stay strong. I want to remind us tonight, Dominica, that we shall overcome. We shall. The race is not for the swift, but for the race, that we're involved in will involve endurance. The news reporter tonight asked me, she said, are you regretting the decision to not contest the election because you'll be out of office for maybe 5 years? I said no. I said we don't regret at all. It's not about winning or losing. Let's understand this, Dominica. It's not about winning or losing an election. It is about your ability to vote for whomever you choose. It's about your ability to not be worried about your job. It's about your ability to be able to come out here tonight and tomorrow no one threatens you because you are out there. That is what this fight is about. That is what this fight is about. It's about ensuring that Dominicans have the democratic right to vote and support whom they pleases, and that there are absolutely no consequences. The Dominican Labour Party under Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has almost destroyed Dominica. It has destroyed Dominica. Labour rights are afraid to be seen talking to me in public. What is that about? Persons that I grew up with as a child, they're afraid they will talk to me at night, they will not talk to me during the day. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy, but that is where we are in Dominica today. So we are going to change all that. And the way we are going to change that is to have electoral reform. Look, I buy Bas carriage, your volley. Look, I buy your volley. Lenuni electoral reform. Lei passa mene moun desan. Lei passa pour moun qui l'autre pays pour 20 années, pour 14 années, pour 50 années. Lei passa mene yo. Look, I buy your volley. Et ça y perd ça. C'est ça y perd. Don't fool yourselves. The Prime Minister realizes that if he were to remain for the next 2 years, and then the United Workers' Party builds up itself, that he would be voted out in 2025. Because I point he go ahead. But how long can he run? It is up to us, ladies and gentlemen, to make this current government act and behave as if they were illegitimate. It's up to us to do that. Every day we will remind Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit that his election was a sham election, that he does not have the support of the majority of Dominicans, and that is a fact. That is a fact. Roosevelt Skerrit does not have the support of the majority of Dominicans. The majority of Dominicans support change. The majority of Dominicans support electoral reform. The majority of Dominicans support us living in a democracy. The majority of Dominicans support Dominicans first above everyone else. When I look at the workers, I stopped a few days ago to have a conversation with some of the men working on the roads. They could not even speak English. Not that we have anything against foreign workers, but it cannot be that for every major project, the majority of workers are from overseas. What about Dominicans? What happened to our people? We used to work. We used to put up those buildings. We used to do the construction. What has happened? What has happened? So we have a prime minister who is against Dominicans, and he's found a way to divide Dominicans, keep them in fear, not give them the kind of opportunities that they need, and that is what we are standing against. And that is why we said, no election, no reform. And let me clarify to you, we will not, as a party, participate in any election unless and until there is electoral reform. We say this with no apologies. Scary to hardy. It's so hardy. How can one man decide that he will do as he pleases against the wishes of the thousands and thousands of hard-working Dominicans? That is not right. C'est pas fair. And so we are standing tonight, Dominica, and thank you for standing with us. I know we don't always agree, we will never always agree, but that is okay. We appreciate you being able to express yourselves. We appreciate you having a difference of opinion with what we think. It is okay. We welcome your ideas. We welcome your suggestions. We welcome your input. We believe that this country is for Dominica, and we are going to build Dominica together. And this is the beginning of that process. This is the beginning of building our country. This is the beginning of building a bigger and better Dominica. Ladies and gentlemen, as I come to an end, I would like you to raise your candles. Let us raise. If you don't have a candle, put the light on your phone. And let's raise it. Let's put some light, ladies and gentlemen. Let us shine a light on Dominica. Let us shine a light on Dominica. And let us work together. À nous travailler ensemble. À nous travailler ensemble. Et pas quitter au point d'emmener hot no. Let's say it again. Pas quitter au point d'emmener hot no. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. And remember, we shall overcome.